Hello and welcome to the SYSTRAcast, the SYSTRA podcast for the UK and Ireland. My name is Holly Wallace. I am a mental health first aider and wellbeing champion, and I'm here today with Rachel Goodwin, who's also a wellbeing champion and mental health first aider, to record a special wellbeing edition looking at a condition called fibromyalgia. Hello, Rachel.
Hi, Hols. How are you?
All right. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good, thanks. Yeah, I'm not having a bad day today.
It's not our first attempt at one of these, is it?
It's not. No. Yeah, we did one earlier, didn't we? About stress. Was it
stress, anxiety, and OCD? Yeah. So we should be polished professionals at this by now, but we'll see.
Not sure if that exists in my universe, but
so we're here, as I said, we're here today to talk about fibromyalgia. I have got to say I am woefully uneducated about this. I know that it's a condition where you live with chronic pain, and I don't think it is very well known about. You know, you hear it bandied around, the term fibromyalgia, but I don't think many people understand actually what it is. Can you tell me a little bit more about what it is?
Yeah, sure. And I think you're right. I mean, I think a lot of people have heard of fibromyalgia, and a lot of people think they know what it is, but when you start actually explaining it to people who maybe haven't come into contact with it, it's like they're quite shocked, I think, because it means a lot of different things to many different people.
I think to me, do you know what I thought it was like cysts. I don't know why.
Oh, right. I thought it's fibroid.
Yeah.
Cystic, aren't they?
But it's nothing to do with that, is it?
No, nothing at all, no. So the NHS website definition of fibromyalgia is long-term condition that causes pain all over the body. And that is such a wide statement. It's from the NHS, it's unreal. Symptoms of fibro that they quote on the website are increased sensitivity to pain, muscle stiffness, difficulty getting to sleep or staying asleep, fatigue, fibro fog, headaches, irritable bowel syndrome, and feelings of frustration, worry or low mood. So that's just a snippet of kind of some of the symptoms that can occur with fibromyalgia. And
that's crazy because a lot of those symptoms could be, related to, long COVID or, they're kind of suitably vague, aren't they? If you were suffering from any of those things, muscle stiffness, if you go to the gym, tiredness, sensitivity to pain, you're not going to necessarily diagnose yourself with this condition, are you?
And that's the biggest challenge with people that have fibromyalgia, is getting it diagnosed. And I think there's probably hundreds and hundreds of people that have got fibromyalgia and that live with it every day, but they've not had it diagnosed. The process is, there is no way of diagnosing it, which is the first difficulty, because there isn't a blood test, there isn't any scans you can have or MRIs or anything like that. So the only real way that they sort of end up diagnosing it is to undiagnose anything else. So you have to have all the tests for things like rheumatoid arthritis, MS, all of those different things that they think about. And then at the end of all of that, when there's nothing, they kind of then, we'll think we'll diagnose you with fibromyalgia. Personally, I think I've had fibro since 2001.
Wow.
I think what they're saying
22 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
If you read, I mean, I'm not going to bore everyone with different websites, but if you start researching fibromyalgia, there's hundreds of different websites. There's lots of research being done. A lot of it's over in America, to be honest. And what they think is that whatever it is, it's something to do with the messages that are going to your brain. So a lot of the research is saying it's more of a neurological disorder, and it's that your brain is getting these messages that you're in pain, but everywhere, all the time. And hypersensitivity is another one. And that's interesting because what they say is that it's caused potentially by trauma. So trauma could be anything.
So physical trauma, or can it be like emotional?
Yeah, exactly that. And any traumatic event in your life can potentially trigger this condition, and they don't quite know why and how it happens. And there's no sort of clear this is what it is, this is how it happens, this is why it happens. There's none of that for fibro. When I had my son in 2001, I had to have an emergency cesarean. And so I went from being in the hospital bed, being monitored, blah, 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 to suddenly being rushed, like, you know, like you see on ER.
I can identify. I had the same, and it's a major operation. You're lying there, and they get you to sign a form saying, you know, if you die in theatre, you're not going to blame us. It's not like you know, too posh to push. It's not like a quick C-section, is it?
My husband had to do that. So, you know, my husband had to sign a form to basically say, if your wife dies and your baby dies, it's nothing to do with us.
And also the period of recovery, it's not.
No,
it's not like you're just up and about. So I guess that relates back to 2001. That would be a sort of traumatic experience that you'd gone through that could have triggered it.
Yeah, exactly. And then so kind of from there, I didn't even know what fibromyalgia was. I never even thought about it. And it was a case of you just kind of you just wonder why you're tired, or you know, why I'm so tired. But then I had a new baby.
Exactly.
So it's like, okay, so I've got postnatal depression, probably.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've got fatigue. Everyone has fatigue when they've got a new baby. It was only sort of a few years later, I think around 2012, that I started with the kind of joint pain and the actual pain. And the thing with fibro pain, it's sort of pain that if somebody even slightly brushes you with like almost a feather, you feel it. You can feel it. It feels painful. So you can imagine if you knocked yourself, if you like banged your elbow on a door frame, you'd probably that hurt. But for me, it feels like I've broken my arm like immediately after banging. You do you know what I mean? So the level of pain that I feel, and I think it's called palpation. So that's when, you know, when you go to an examination and
they push you. Yeah.
Pain everywhere when anyone does that.
I mean, that's crazy, because I was gonna say to you, out of that list of symptoms from the NHS website, which ones do you know, you kind of identify with? But just sticking on this hypersensitivity, I mean, that must then feed into anxiety, because then when you're going somewhere public and you're in, you know, you're walking down Coney Street in York, and you know it's Christmas and people are brushing against you, it just must be an absolute nightmare, you know.
And that's one of my hypersensitivity is one of my main symptoms. Chronic pain, chronic fatigue, hypersensitivity, definitely, and migraines are all sort of intermingled as what I would say main symptoms are. But I think, and that's a good point, because I think I've always had anxiety to some degree. I think I've always had that from being young, but the fibromyalgia definitely increases that massively. And it's exactly like you say, but it's even situations like if I'm in the office, you know, in York, it's an open plan office, and if there's a lot of people, there can be a lot of noise going on. And with my hypersensitivity, it's like I'm tuning into every single person that's talking, or every single noise or phone call, or, you know, outside even, and it just gets completely overwhelming. So
do you have like noise cancelling headphones? Do you have?
I haven't got any. Do you know? I need
to invest in some of those. Yeah.
But yeah, exactly that. So that's kind of one of one of the other symptom that I have that I believe is to do with fibro is tinnitus.
Oh gosh,
and
that's
that
awful.
Is constant 24/7 slight buzzing noise in my head that I have. So it gets louder if it's loud. If I'm in a loud environment, my tinnitus gets worse, I think. So I think it just gets triggered by extra noise. So yeah, it's all there's so many symptoms that people just don't understand. And the amount of people that I sort of speak to, when they say, the first thing they say to me is, "Oh, so you won't be working then?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I work 30 hours a week.
You've got to work."
And they're like, what? And I'm like, you have to, otherwise.
So I guess,
we're
going to dot around here. I guess you've got to push through that pain, because how do you, you know, if it is severe chronic pain and it is pretty much constant. I'm guessing
Yeah.
you might have good
Yeah.
days, but
Oh,
you're going to
definitely.
have, there'll be good days and bad days. How do you manage that pain? I mean, obviously there's painkillers, but what kind of treatments could,
Yeah.
is
So
there?
there isn't many, to be honest. And there's a lot of kind of, I suppose there's quite a lot of research into kind of holistic approaches. So things like acupuncture, meditation, yoga, Pilates, all of
Yeah.
those. What they don't quite take into account is the palpation pain thing. So I tried acupuncture and
Oof.
it was
Yeah.
great. And it wasn't the needles that were the
Oh,
issue. It was when they were, to get the needles in, they have to
they need
kind of
to
probe
touch
about
you.
and press quite hard. And that, I couldn't stand it. So the process of going, once the needles were in and I was laid with the incense going and the music on and it was lovely. But getting to that point of them getting the needles in was agony because they were pressing on the needle points that they needed to put the needles in.
Yeah.
And that was agony. So for me, that didn't work.
But it's so
Um,
hard to find a balance because obviously you've got your traditional pain relief, paracetamol, ibuprofen, aspirin, whatever, but you can't overdo those. You can't
uh,
overdo the pills, can you? You know,
absolutely. And
and then if you can't do this sort of alternative, holistic
yeah.
approach, you're a bit
So what you learn to do is
stuck.
manage pain.
Yeah.
So I think I've got a much higher pain threshold than somebody without fibromyalgia probably has. But that has positives and negatives as well because people then don't grasp how bad it is for me having that pain because
Because
they
you're not
can't
constantly
manage it.
wincing
Yeah,
and
yeah.
walking and, going
Because it's
like that.
part of
Yeah.
me. People are sometimes are actually amazed when I
Yeah.
tell them like what sort of things I have to sort of
Have you had
endure.
people also been actually quite downright mean about it as well and being like, "Oh, it's just a made-up illness," or
Oh, of
have you?
course. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah,
and
yeah.
unsympathetic to what because they just don't get it.
Yeah,
And I
absolutely.
imagine you go, "I wish you could just live with my pain for one day, just
Yes.
one day, and see exactly how I feel."
Yeah, because I don't remember a time when I was pain free. I genuinely don't remember a day when I did not have pain from right throughout the night, not even from when I wake up because I'm awake at several
And I
points.
suppose does that wake you up as well? Then does it affect your sleep?
Yeah, exactly. And this is the thing that people don't get about fatigue as well, because when you talk about fatigue, that is a consistent lack of restful sleep for a long, long period of time. Being tired is a different thing. If you're tired, you'll end up resting and the next day or the next day, and you'll recover from that. When you have chronic fatigue, you are constantly at possible breaking point. And it's a very fine balance to manage how much you do before you rest and how much rest you have and when you do it and things like that. So even this week, for example, on Tuesday, I woke up and I kind of knew I was going to get a migraine because I could feel it in the base of my neck. And it was because I was too fatigued. I'd not had enough rest and it just builds up. So I had to take a tablet and go to bed for like
I
an
think
hour
that's
and a
one
half,
of the good
2 hours,
things
2 hours.
with working from home these days, because I
Yeah,
know I did struggle a lot with fatigue after having had COVID, and with Sistra's flexible working hours and the fact that you
absolutely.
have got a lunch break that you can take between 12 and
Yeah,
2 as long as you do your set hours, and it
yeah.
just allows you, if you wanted to go back to bed for an
Oh,
hour,
which I
then
did.
you can go and
Yeah,
do that.
and that's been an absolute. That is a godsend.
Yeah, it
For
was
me.
for me when I was recovering from
Absolute,
COVID. I
it's a
was,
game
I
changer.
couldn't have. Yeah.
Yeah,
The other thing I was going to ask was, if the people around you you're working with, or your family or your friends, if you are having a bad day, how do you communicate that to them? Do you just kind of come out and say, because you don't want to be constantly saying that, I imagine, but you're going to have to say, look, today is a bad day, or do they know? Or, with workmates, how do you sort of
yeah.
just let
I think
people know that actually you're really struggling on that particular day?
yeah. I mean, I you know that I'm quite easily. I can speak out quite well. I don't have a problem sort of
Yeah.
saying things as they are. So my team all know that I have fibromyalgia, and they know what it is, and they know how it can affect me.
Yeah.
And interestingly, if I go to Birmingham office, for example, if I do Birmingham and back in a day, there's no way I'm getting up and logging in at 8 o'clock the next morning, because I will need a little bit of extra time to sort of recover from that
Yeah.
journey. The whole, anxiety, fibro, pain, tiredness journey, it all is just quite big. But that's fine, because we sort of know that, and we can have that discussion. And I
Yeah.
think with my family, especially my hubby, Cole, he's with me every day. So he sees bad days and good days, and we sort of do things around that. We, if I'm having a really bad day, we maybe won't go for a walk. We might just
Yeah.
go somewhere and have a coffee, and then chill out, and then come
You
back,
know
and
what
I'll
pace
I'll
to
go
take
for
it
a
at.
sleep.
Yeah, just sort of naturally.
But that's the worst thing about it for me. It's being able to balance that, because I still do way too much and then crash and burn. And it's something that's really difficult, because when I was younger, I was quite active, and I used to do netball, I used to do cycling, swimming, all sorts. And then you get something like fibro, and it really does dictate the lifestyle that you can have. And I get frustrated, because there's some of the things that I used to do that I just can't do, and I
Yeah.
just can't do them anymore. And there's different things that I'm doing, obviously, but it does get frustrating, because you kind of, with fibromyalgia, you kind of feel like you've lost that person that you
Yeah.
used to be, because you're a different person, because you've got this fibro that's like dictating your
And I
life.
suppose that's where the phrase living with
Yeah,
comes from. When you've got an illness or a condition
yeah,
like that, you don't say you're suffering with, although
no,
you are, but you're
well, yeah,
having to find new ways to live with it,
yeah,
aren't you?
exactly that, yeah.
Are there any other sort of tools or online forums or even like in-person groups, that you've been able to reach out to and talk to other people who are also going through it?
Yeah, I mean, there is, but do you know what? Interestingly, I do find that, because I joined a group on Facebook,
Mm.
and it's really difficult, and I get it, I totally get it, but people end up just using it as a really negative space, and it's always all about all the
Yeah.
rubbish stuff that's happening. And sometimes
That's
I
just
think
Facebook all
we
over
all
for you,
know
isn't
that.
it?
So yeah, I know, yeah. But sometimes I know that.
Yeah.
I know how rubbish it is to have fibromyalgia. What I want
Yeah.
is people to say, do you know what? Today this happened, and actually I did this, and I feel
Well,
quite
and
proud
you
of
want a
myself.
support network. That's why these
Yeah,
things are called a support
it is.
network, not a,
Yeah.
whinge and moan
Well,
forum
and
where you're all
that's
just making
worrying.
everyone else feel bad, or it becomes a competition. Whose
Yeah,
pain is worse on these
yeah,
forums? And you're like, well, I need
yeah, and
some
also, and
positivity.
exactly that, because I was, I'm working. I work for 30 hours, and I would not say to anyone, you should be working, because
Yeah.
everybody's fibromyalgia is different. But I almost started feeling guilty that I wasn't bad enough. Do you know that my fibro wasn't as bad as everyone else's, and therefore I should just shut up moaning and get on with that. Do you know what I mean? You sort of get to that point where you're like,
Mm.
am I actually, is this as bad as I think it is? Maybe, but it is for me. So, and everyone's different, and each person is a different, has a different set of symptoms and deals with things in a different way. I try and be quite positive.
Yeah.
And in June, I'm doing a skipping challenge for cancer research.
Wow.
So I'm doing 100 skips a day, for the whole of June, every day in June. So yesterday started, and I came straight out the traps, and I was like, yes, I can do this. And I did it, and it was brilliant. And then overnight, it was like, oh, that hurts a bit. And oh, my back hurts a bit, and my legs are hurting a bit more than normal. And this morning, when I did my 100 skips, afterwards, I was like, ooh, that hurts a little
Can
bit
you
more.
split it? Can you split it into
Yes,
25, 25, 25, 25?
to do it in a day. Yeah. So, but I'm determined to do it, because
Oh, that's brilliant.
I want to challenge myself as well. And sometimes, you have got to, with fibromyalgia, you either let it take over your life and you sit and mope and do nothing, or you fight like hell and push yourself
Mm.
through barriers that you never thought you would. need to, and you do things, because otherwise I'm not prepared to go down with that fight. So fibromyalgia is not going to take over my life. They're on board with me and they're with me 24/7, and they're like sometimes they're an unwanted passenger on the ride, but they're there and there's nothing I can do about it. So yeah, it is a difficult balance sometimes.
Well, I think on that positive note, we're nearly up to half an hour with our podcast. It has been a real education talking to you. It's been fantastic. And I really hope that some of what you've said will resonate with people, anyone who's maybe doubting if they've been struggling with chronic pain for years, and, you know, it is as if this can just help one person. Is there anything final you would like to say, Rach?
I don't know. Yeah, I just think everyone is different, and there'll be a lot of people that'll listen to this podcast and they might not have fibromyalgia, but they might have other things that are going on. And they might think, oh, actually, maybe people need to know about that. If anybody is listening in and then thinks, do you know what? Maybe I should do a podcast and let people know about this or that, or
educate people.
and just put stuff out there, because the more people in SYSTRA that put their stories out there, the more people can take from that, and then you're not on your own. Sometimes you feel like you're on your own in these things, don't you? But you're not. So yeah, I hope it does help somebody with something.
Yeah, don't be alone. Don't be alone.
Don't be alone. No.
Great. Well, lovely talking to you.
And you, Hope.
Until next time.
Yeah, definitely. And see you later. Have a nice weekend.
See you later. Bye.
Bye.